So I'm in a strange place with some strange headphones on and a strange microphone, but I hope it all sounds all right.
Doesn't sound too bad. What are you looking up on Wikipedia?
I was looking up the theory of constraints originator. Yes, it's all part of my grand plan for my content today.
Okay.
Essentialism, that's the other
You
thing.
did talk about the theory of constraints last week.
I know, but I'm going to expand on my theory a little bit this week.
Okay.
Are we ready to kick off then?
I am if you are.
I am always ready. Born ready, me.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Morning, Judith. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Nicola. How are you?
Well, apart from the fact I'm offline till Friday due to Heather having a little moment of tidying up and getting the builders to cut the BT phone line coming into the house, I'm fine.
How did that happen exactly? I don't really understand.
Well, we got builders, very lovely Polish builders, work very hard, very charming, and they are up there, scrubbing things down and rendering and doing all that sort of stuff. And they found this sort of loop of messy phone wire. Well, they didn't know what it was. It was coming from the phone pole, and they called Heather up and said, there's a big loop of wire here, what should we do with it? And she said, well, where's it coming from? They said the BT pole, and she said, oh, nobody uses BT nowadays, it doesn't exist, I don't think. So she told them to cut it. And at the point where I was sort of putting on Facebook, oh, my internet and my phone's gone off, I think I fear the worst. Actually, the worst had already happened on instructions.
What on earth made her think that?
Because she lives in Hove, and in Hove they have cabling connection. They always have had, even since the 70s, I think. And when she was in Shoreham, she had Virgin cable network, phone and television. I've got Sky. She knows I've got Sky. She knows my broadband comes in on Sky. So she just assumed that nobody uses the BT phone lines anymore, but actually that's what your phone and broadband comes in on, no matter who's supplying it.
That's right. Yes, they rent it from BT, don't they?
Yes, they do. So then
it's extraordinary. It didn't occur to her to think, oh, my sister is an internet marketer who works 24/7 online. I might just check.
Yeah, well, she did say that the thought of checking did fleetingly go through her mind, but as she was en route from somewhere, abroad on the Eurostar at the time, she didn't do it. But then the BT guy turned up in the afternoon, and he did a lot of sucking of teeth, and because there's scaffolding outside, he's not allowed to get on our scaffolding because of health and safety regulations. So, and he couldn't get his ladder up because the scaffolding was in the way. So he sucked his teeth. Of course, we'd just gone out for I haven't been out for about a week, I don't think, except to go to the co-op. But we were having a little jaunt to Tesco's yesterday. Of course, that was just at the point he arrived, and Phoebe was there, luckily, and the builders, who don't speak very good English. So he did a lot of sucking of teeth, and he said, oh, that's going to cost an awful lot to repair. And Phoebe was like, she didn't think to ask what a lot meant. So it was a bit of a comedy of errors, really. But anyway, we rang Sky, and they said he was completely wrong to have said that he would charge us. It's all, it's an accident, and it's going to get fixed. But because of course now we've got the thing of the builders have to they have to move the scaffolding about so the BT guy can get his ladder up unimpeded, and that's all going to happen on Friday apparently. In the meantime, I'm at Steve WordPress expert Watson Towers today.
Okay. Well, it could be worse, couldn't it?
Yeah, I could have no friends at all with internet. That would be tragic. What about you then?
Oh, well, I've been having what I call one of my tumbleweed weeks, which is
okay.
about 2 or 3 times a year, something really weird happens in my life. I mean, every day I get endless demands on my time in ways which I enjoy. So hundreds of emails, hundreds of, contacts and connections and engagements, and about 2 or 3 times a year, it just falls away, and it's like, well, where is everybody? I've just had one of those, and I can't explain them. They are often in October. They are sometimes in August. And usually when I compare notes with other people, they say they've experienced the same thing. But, tumbleweed is one of those things that just rolls down the street in a cowboy movie.
Yeah, it's great.
It's like, where is everybody? Yes, I've had a tumbleweed week, which is no bad thing, but can sometimes tip one into scarcity.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I had a tumbleweed September, and now it's gone completely bonkers. Come on, you're a whistler. Can you whistle the theme tune for the tumbleweed moment?
Yeah.
What is that?
The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, isn't it? It's
okay.
Clint Eastwood.
All right, but I was hoping you were going to whistle it, but singing is almost as good. The other thing, of course, that I've been doing this week is getting together our 50th anniversary birthday bonkers bits. And that was just a brilliant example of a bonkers bit.
Yes, it was. And actually, after this, I'm going to do the show notes for the birthday bonkers bits, as well as for this, which is episode 49.
Yeah, and I don't think, I think they speak for themselves, those bonkers bits. I mean, I can actually quote my favourite bonkers bits out loud, and I was doing it this morning when I was cleaning my teeth, which is, Judith, do you think you could be a little more eccentric this week? Eccentric? Me? Well, I'm feeling a bit yoghurt weavery this week. Yes, eccentric. Why? I can do that.
I can do anything anybody asks, really. Whether or not I want to is another question.
Absolutely. No, it did make me laugh so much. I was doing it and I was laughing out loud halfway. And I only went up to episode 30 as well. So we've got another good 20 or 30 in the can for next time.
Good.
Yeah, it's great fun. I hope our loyal fans, of which Karen Skidmore appears to be one of the most vocal on Facebook at the moment. She's telling us about her favourite episodes already. She's working.
Yes. Let me just ask a question, which I think is useful for the listener, given that we're on episode 49. Bonkers Bits episode 50 is a bonus, isn't it? There will also be episode 51 in that week, which will be normal.
Absolutely, yes. It's a bonus Bonkers Bits as opposed to a replacement episode. Yeah.
And actually, it's only 12 to 14 minutes long, so I have listened to it once already. I will listen to it again.
Oh, you mean I could probably go a few more in there?
No, I think it's perfect exactly as it is, Nick.
Okay, all right. So what's fueled your fire this week then?
Well, same as last week, actually. I'm further into Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm listening to it while doing my crowning, and I'm particularly struck by something which I know to be true, which she explained to me this week, which is the thing about ideas. Ideas, creators and scanners and people like us and everybody, we all have loads of ideas all of the time, and you have loads of ideas and I have loads of ideas. And what she's saying is creative people, because this book's about creativity, we all have access to the ideas that are out there in the ether. I keep saying ether. And we might download them. You might have an idea and do nothing about it. And if you don't do anything about it, somebody else is going to do something about it. So an idea is just looking for a human host.
Oh.
Which explains why sometimes, I'm sure this has happened to you, it's definitely happened to me more than once, somebody else brings your idea to market before you do.
Yeah.
Because you go, oh, I had that idea and I didn't do anything about it. An idea is looking for somebody to make it manifest, and if it's not you, or you have the idea and you don't bring it into reality, then somebody else will. And that's okay, because there's no shortage of ideas.
It plays to the thing of when someone else gives you an idea, when you just finished a business and you're thinking, what can I do next? And you go and talk to your mentors and they give you some ideas and you just don't resonate with any of them because they're sort of being imposed on you from outside and they haven't downloaded themselves into you.
Yeah.
Because when an idea, it downloads itself into you with a big fat clunk, it just feels so right, doesn't it, sometimes?
Yeah, it does, yes. But sometimes we hesitate. And if we hesitate, somebody else is very close to that idea too. And if you don't implement it, they will. And maybe it doesn't matter. But actually, this will feel very nicely into my Client Challenge of the Week. But tell me first, what has fueled your own fire?
Well, interestingly, it's something that connects with that, because I've been reading Content Machine by Dan Norris, and I like Dan Norris a lot. He's the guy who wrote 7 Day Startup, which got me going with clicksandleads.com, and his latest book's Content Machine, and it's all about how to create a content machine for your business. But what's been holding me back, because Dan's got lots of lovely tick lists and things, resources to do with the book, and I've downloaded a lot of them, but I haven't actually got going with it yet because I couldn't decide which blog to blog on. Do I blog on nicolacairncross.com, which is my umbrella blog? Do I blog on clicksandleads.com, and if so, do I just blog about Facebooky things, or do I just blog about, what do I do with all the old blog posts that are sitting on nicolacairncross.com and the Business Success Factory that will never see the light of day if I stop blogging there? And I just couldn't make my mind up at all. And then obviously I read Essentialism last week, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less, and I just thought, I've got to get rid of some of these blogs, or I've got to tidy them up, or I've got to do something with them. So I thought, okay, Business Success Factory is a podcast of the same name, so let's just strip off everything from that website that's not to do with that podcast. And then that means moving some of the pillar articles over to whichever blog I'm going to do blogging on going forward. And then I can refresh them and bring them back up to the top again, which Google loves apparently. So then I thought, well, should I do it on nicolacairncross.com? No, I don't want to do that because I don't like the way the website looks now. It's funny, isn't it, how it was so cutting edge about 2 years ago, and now it just looks out of date. So can I be bothered to spend any time at all upgrading nicolacairncross.com? No, because I'm not selling anything from it. So this whole essentialism is all about less but better. So I thought, where can I do blogging that looks great, that will build the business, help the business, support the business? And it just became obvious after mulling it over for a week that Clicks and Leads was the place. So now it's Content Machine by Dan Norris that's fueling my fire, because he's giving me, I like a nice simple framework to work to.
I have started that book. There's an awful long preamble before you get to the good bit, and I'm still stuck in the preamble.
Yeah. Well,
I thought he was going to tell me how to become a content machine, but there's acres of stuff at the beginning, which is rather tedious, actually.
Well, I think that's only because we are quite experienced bloggers, Judith. I think anyone who isn't an experienced blogger and doesn't know what to do needs to get the concepts first before they get the tick lists and the spreadsheets.
Yes, but there doesn't seem to be talking about content at all at the beginning, though. He's sort of talking about what sort of a business to create, quite big ones, actually.
I don't remember that bit at all. But the other thing that feeds into what you've just been talking about was I like to immerse myself in stuff. So I was listening to mainly also because I can't get online at home at the and I need something to listen to rather than breakfast TV, which is a bit numbing. So I was listening to an interview he did with Mixergy, the guy from Mixergy, Andrew someone or other, and he was talking about how ideas and how he has a lot of ideas, and how the 7 Day Startup book talked about how if you have an idea you must act on it immediately, you should act on it quickly.
Okay.
But then he said, but then how do you know what's the right idea? Because he had a business, it was an internet agency doing websites and stuff for people, and that was a bad fit for him personality wise. And then he had about 10 ideas, and it was about how to try and evaluate your ideas. And actually the 7 Day Startup book's got a really nice sort of evaluation grid in it to evaluate all your different ideas based on certain criteria. And he was then saying that even if you act on an idea quickly, it's got to be the right idea, because if it's the wrong idea and you act on it quickly, you end up building another big hole for yourself.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to evaluate your ideas as well, not least by, do they suit you as a personality?
First, a word from our sponsors. Are you sick to death of all the hyped up quick riches and push button offers out there for making money online? Well, the Fast Start Masterclass will teach and mentor you how to create your own successful online business in under 4 weeks, but you will have to do some work. The most important thing you need to know about us is that we've made a great full-time living working part-time from home for nearly 20 years now. We've also taught many hundreds of people to do the same. Our training is 100% money-back guaranteed. If you follow our simple system, you will get up and running with your new online business in under 4 weeks. You'll get access to everything you need to get started: strategic planning tools, detailed training videos, weekly live support video webinars. You get your questions answered live, and we've also got a private online support group 24/7 365. Join the Fast Start Masterclass and we guarantee that you'll be up and running within 4 short weeks. Just visit thebusinesssuccessfactory.com to find out more.
What about Client Challenge of the Week then?
Well, I don't know what you're going to make of this one.
I love it when you start like that.
It's not our normal. Just let me write here, Dan Norris. It's called, this one, we're going to sing some songs in this one. Okay?
Well, both of us?
Yes.
Oh, how cool.
Okay. Have you seen Disney's Frozen?
Yes, I have, as a matter of fact.
I haven't, actually.
Oh, it's brilliant.
The big song is Let It Go, isn't it?
Yes. Let it go.
And this week's client, yes, exactly. This week's Client Challenge of the Week is all about letting go.
Okay.
Now, let me give you some good examples. Somebody said something. Somebody did something. Somebody stole your idea. It didn't work out the way you thought. It went wrong. You know, you didn't get into Oxford, or you got into Oxford and underachieved.
Didn't get into St Martin's School of Art.
Yeah, exactly. It should have been me, but he ran off with somebody else. Or, you know, there's a woman.
There's a song there. It should have been me.
It should have been me. Exactly. Yeah. That was the other one I had in mind. You know, get over it and let it go. Now, there are some exceptions to this. Death, divorce, you know, there are a few things that we need to sit with for a bit. There are some things that are smaller than that we need to sit with for a bit. But don't people hang on to stuff, you know, where, you know, somebody's stealing my ideas. Well, are you going to sue them, or are you just going to move on and pick another idea?
Yeah.
You know, I tried for this and I didn't get it right. Are we going to hang around there mourning that, or are we just going to move on? You know, I lent somebody some money, they didn't pay it back right. Are you going to fight them through the courts? Or are you just going to move on? You know, I can't get over how people get hung up on the way it should have been.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. I see it a lot in the internet marketing community when one person rips another person off and the other person is spending. I mean, there's one brilliant example at the moment of someone who has written a review website of a copywriter that is quite well known in internet circles. And this copywriter apparently has, it's difficult to tell, but I suspect there's two sides to every story, which there always is. But it's a large sum of money involved. And the chap involved, instead of just saying to himself, see, what I would say to myself if that happened, obviously I'd be gutted if I lost 12 grand, which is apparently the sum in question. But I would, after thinking about it and being absolutely gutted with myself, I'd be thinking, what systems can I put in place to make sure that never happens again? And this is about taking responsibility as well, isn't it? Because unless something actually happens to you that you didn't see coming, and I do accept that people have accidents and other people are mean to people and do terrible things to people, but if it's something that could remotely have been prevented from happening by yourself, you have to take 50% of the responsibility at least, don't you?
I think you've got to take 50%, yes. I think there are lessons to be learned from that. What I find strange is how much time and energy and resource people will spend sulking or
that's a good word.
or hanging on to what might have been, or plotting revenge, or
plotting revenge is a good one.
Or, I mean, it happens. You taught me something really abundant, actually, which you said something. You know, there are. You know, how many of my clients want to be unique? You know, or there's somebody in the high performing women group at the moment who's talking about somebody stealing my content and copyright or whatever it is. Well, are you going to send them a cease and desist letter, or are you just going to look in the other direction and get on? Marion and I ran I've told you this story before, we ran a group together in 2007, and actually this still happens now, and I find it quite flattering actually, but one of the ladies sort of copied everything about that group for herself, including pretty much the sales letter that I'd written. And she asked Marion, what did she think? And Marion said, yes, I like it, but I liked it the first time when Judith wrote it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, do I care? No, I find that quite flattering, actually. Do I spend any amount of time thinking, well, that's not fair, that's not right? You know, we had the Money Gym for years before the Financial Times started up something called the Money Gym. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was called.
And we didn't have the resources to fight them. So what's our thing? Should we just sit there and sulk, or we should just move on with our version, which has been alive forever? I can't understand how people can get hung up so much on, you know, where it went wrong, who I was supposed to be, how it was supposed to turn out. I can't get it, Nicola. And I want people to learn the art of releasing it.
You've said so many interesting things in there. You've said something along the lines of uniqueness and how people want to be unique. Well, you actually are already unique. Thomas Leonard taught me that. The first thing he said when I arrived at that conference in Las Vegas on my own, and you know, he was on the stage, and you know, someone asked about that. He said something I can't remember exactly how he said it. It was something along the lines of, you know, whatever you do will be unique because anything you do will be put through your unique filter of experiences and personality and whatever. And so it's a bit like, you know, Nelson's just started at music college, and he you know, there's been hundreds of years of music, I don't know, 1,000 years of music, and that there is only so many musical notes to go round, but he is absolutely convinced that he will bring something unique to the world that he would do in, you know, thank God he does feel like that, because a lot of people.
Empowering belief. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But the other thing you said was, no, it's gone. There you go. It's floated past and on its way.
Thinking of something that you reminded me of there in the Big Magic book, she says that somebody like, I think it's Picasso, looked at you know, cave paintings from 1 million years BC and said, oh look, we've learnt nothing in 12,000 years. And in writing there are only 7 plots, but there are a gazillion books and versions of that. It's just like, you know, new ideas and protecting my ideas, and somebody's stolen my idea, and I was supposed to.
I just remembered what I wanted to say. It's easier and less work for people to go down the routes of hanging on to things and trying to get revenge for things, and it's easier, isn't it, than just saying, I'm going to go and do something else, something new, something different. I'm going to just move on and create something else unique.
Yeah, I think one of my clients wrote in and said that he'd listened to the recording of the group call and I'd made him laugh because somebody had said, you know, I feel I need to look at what everybody else is doing first so that I can pitch my pricing right or something. I said, really? I don't give a shit what anybody else is doing. I just get on and do whatever I want. And I think there's a confidence with that, which is, I'm going to do it my own way. I don't care what anybody else is doing. I don't see that what anybody else is doing has an influence on me.
Yeah.
And equally, I don't feel I need to stay away from their ideas either, in case I suck them up and they become part of mine and then I've stolen their idea. Or I suppose this is all around scarcity.
It is. I'm not averse to a bit of plagiarism if it stops me reinventing the wheel, but I will put my unique spin on just about everything. I can't help doing that.
No, well, exactly.
Yeah. Now, something else floated past then and went, oh my God, my brain's like an open mesh sieve today.
Well, I'll give you another one. I'll give you another example, okay? You can't copyright a recipe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, you can't. So it's not your recipe or my recipe. You might have been the first person to bring it to the public's attention, but possibly Auntie Mary's been making it for decades. You know, there's nothing new under the sun, and yet there is when it comes through your filter. But a lot of people turn up in my life who are hanging on to stuff. They can be hanging on to it for 20 minutes or 20 years, but it doesn't serve them. And I notice really quickly, you know, just let it go, let it go. And because what it does is it blocks you, it stops you getting on with your own life and creating your own thing, or playing your own music, or writing your own recipes, or, you know, the regrets that people have. I don't know why we torture ourselves with this. It goes round and round.
Je regrette rien. And I will have that on whatever it is I end up in. I thought what I was going to say then. I'm doing this white labeling thing with. I've got two awesome joint venture partners who really want to offer Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and Twitter ads, and who want to deal with the clients. They've got complementary businesses. One of them is a big coach, and one of them is a person who goes out networking a lot. So she gets asked for this stuff, doesn't want to do the work herself, wants to work with someone she trusts. Anyway, we put a proposal together for a very big contract. When I say a proposal, it was a short email. Essentialism, remember? It doesn't need to be a 5-page beautiful document. It was an email that summarized what we would do for them and how much it would cost. And they then decided that actually he was ready to sign on the dotted line, but his business partners wanted to go and get a couple of other quotes from other agencies. And I said, she was concerned about this, my joint venture partner, and I said, absolutely don't worry about it. I said, I know what other agencies charge, and what I've done here is put together a package that works best for the client. It's in the client's best interests. I know they're not going to find anything better out there because I've come at this from the point of view of what the client needs. And if they go and they look at other agencies and they'll find out the best ones charge double what we charge, and B, they'll find out that the package is not as client friendly as ours is. So don't worry about it. We'll get the gig.
Yeah.
And if we don't, they're not the right clients.
No. So no agonising. Now, let's try and work out some ways that we can notice ourselves getting hooked up on something and how we can release ourselves from it. I'm going to offer you an example that's coming to my own mind, which is, I don't want to name names because it's in my family. Somebody in my family with whom I have a relationship of more than 30 years took against something she thought I'd said or done about 5 or 6 years ago and didn't speak to me for a long time.
No.
But in the great, and there was a lot of misery and sadness caused on both sides, but in the great scheme of things, that means that we've spoken happily and indeed repaired it, and been in communication for 25 of the 32 years or whatever it is, and we're over it now. And I had to wait for her to find a place in her heart to forgive me for the thing that she thought I'd done, which I hadn't actually done. And I was quite hung up over the unfairness, and I did lose some sleep about it, and I bored a few friends about it. Could I have let that go sooner? Should I have let that go sooner?
I think it's difficult when as you know, that I have a similar situation where two friends of mine got the wrong end of the stick about something, and that does still cause me a bit of intellectual pain when I think about it, because someone asked me what happened the other day, and I don't think about it at all, Judith. I haven't thought about it since about 3 months afterwards. It's only occasionally when people ask me why I don't see so and so anymore, it comes up, and it gives me intellectual pain, but it doesn't give me in that gut or in my heart pain.
Yeah.
So, and I think interestingly, when things like unfairness is the hardest thing to get over. Phoebe's only 20, and she gets, she's the most laid back character ever, but she gets super mad if something's unfair. And I think so unfairness does, because human beings are essentially fair beings, we all strive for balance and getting on with each other. So unfairness can strike very, very deep indeed and be the hardest thing to get over, I think.
Yeah. I'm wondering if, so for instance, when you lose somebody you love in a bereavement, let's say, people say it can take 5 years to get over that. The whole never grows over, but the sun rises and the sun sets, and somehow you find a way to carry on. And there is a period of time in which it's exquisitely painful, and then it improves in tiny increments over a period of time. And it seems to me that divorce is something that knocks people sideways as well. And those two, to me, seem very big and serious. But having a go at something and not getting it, or something smaller, what I'm trying to get to is there a way that we could, not we, I don't mean you and I mean everybody listening, could work out what's the appropriate amount of time and energy, and no more, that I will give to this molehill I'm making a mountain out of, and I want to exclude death and divorce because obviously they're massive.
Yeah.
But do you know what I'm saying? Proportion is what I'm saying. Is here's an example. I used to have a big and this is not me. I used to have a big and successful corporate career, and now I don't. And because I'm not achieving very much in my own right at home yet, my ego needs me to keep reminding everybody what a big and successful corporate career I used to have. Let it go, because that's the past.
I think we should all have that video on our bookmarks. I've got a glimmer of an idea as we're talking. It's about how when you look back to connect the dots, as Steve Jobs would say, it's always for the best. Whatever happens is always for the best. So if you can grasp that nettle and say to yourself, even though this feels really bad right now, it's really upsetting me, I'm really angry about it, I know deep down that it's for the best. Now, whether that's a universe kind of imposing its will on you, or fate, or whatever you believe, or Jesus, or whatever, or whether you just believe that that happened for a reason, and it's up to you now to find out the good reason that it happened for.
Yes.
That could be a way forward.
Yeah. That's a nice way, actually. And I think another one that occurred to me while you were talking was, it's part of who I am, but it's not who I am.
That's a nice one. That's a very nice one.
And lots of my sort of yogurt weavery friends would have releasing ceremonies, which is where you write it down on a piece of paper and stick it in a bowl and burn it, or something like that.
I'm a big believer in releasing ceremonies. I like burning things.
Oh, that's good. So do you actually do that, Nicola? Do you do that?
Not regularly, as regularly as I'd like. Although I do have, I've got a tiny. You haven't been to my house I live in at the moment, the internet-free zone. But I do have a burning thing in the back garden that Heather left. It's like a dustbin with a lid on, so I could have burning ceremonies if I wanted to. But I actually, that whole writing things down and throwing things away is great, and I love, writing things in my journal and then putting them on a special page, and then physically, violently tearing them out and ripping them up and throwing them in the bin. That really works.
Okay, so there are releasing ceremonies actually that all of us can do, and the messages that one sees all of the time, and I really buy into this a lot, is about forgiveness. We don't forgive other people for them; we forgive other people for our own health and well-being.
Oh, I'm not convinced about forgiving other people, but I've got a client who's really into forgiveness, the Hawaiian forgiveness thing, and she's making a whole career out of it. And I find it's quite difficult to do that. But what you could do is forgive yourself for having been in that situation for the first place, and for anything you may have unwittingly contributed to that situation.
Yeah, that's very nice wording, isn't it? I forgive myself for anything I may have unwittingly contributed to that situation. And that brings me back to your original point, which is accepting responsibility for the 50%, and then, learning the lesson from that, and then letting that go.
And then putting systems in place to make sure it never happens again. Overreacting, as Thomas Leonard would say.
Tell me that. Tell me more about that, because I'm not getting what you mean.
Well, okay, so something happens, like you run out of loo roll. He used to use the loo roll as an example, which is very funny. Okay. And he said, you run out of loo roll. So what you do to react to that situation is you would go and buy more loo roll. He said overreacting in a good way would be to make sure that you have 3 months, 6 months, or a year's worth of loo roll. And it's exactly what you say. When you've used your spare bottle up, you go and buy a new one. You make sure you never run out of anything.
Yeah, that's right.
So when he talks about overreaction, he doesn't. I don't believe there's such a thing as overreaction in emotions. I think you react how you feel, and there's no. Sometimes people who are trying to control you say that you overreact to things. And you must resist that, because you don't overreact, you just react according to how you feel. But overreacting in a practical sense is very good, because it means that it will never happen again. And that's actually why I've put my package together for Clicks and Leads, because every time it's evolved. Every time something's gone wrong in a client relationship or in a situation with Facebook ads, I have changed my terms and conditions. I've changed my product offering to overreact so that it can never happen again.
Yeah.
And that's a brilliant practical tool to make your life nicer and better.
Yes. Okay. So let's leave our listeners with a question. What am I hanging on to that I need to release?
This whole conversation has enabled me to let go of the fact that I didn't get into St. Martin's, because I've just been it's been mulling around in the back of my head as one of those things. If you had to say what you regret, I regret that I never didn't get into St Martin's, and there's certain reasons why I didn't, some of which were my fault. But I didn't realise until we talked about it just then that I remember it made me feel like I wasn't a creative person because I didn't get in. I wasn't creative enough.
Yeah.
And I've just let go of that because I certainly.
Nicola, just for the benefit of the readers, that was in 1980 something, was it?
It was back in the it must have been the early 80s. Yeah, absolutely.
And you've been hanging on to it for,
well, I didn't think I had
3 or 4 decades, 90s, noughties, 3 decades. No, I know what you mean, and it's no big deal. But we tend to define ourselves by such things, don't we?
Yes.
I was talking to a client this morning, and we were talking about going for something big, and somebody who loved her had said, "Oh, what happens if it doesn't work?" Well, that really isn't a reason to go for something big. Going for something big is heroic. Going for something big and having a near miss is absolutely fine because you'll have grown. So let's just have a think. Let's just slow this down a bit for the last few seconds and go, right, what have I been hanging on to, big and small, that is using up vital life force energy, that if I just let it go, lean out. My thing is always, you've got a Volvo estate and on the tow bar there's a caravan. What could you do? Lean out of the back of the estate car and detach the caravan and let it fall away. You'll accelerate because you're lighter, you're not carrying all that stuff. Now, what's in your caravan that you could forgive and release?
Have you seen Martian yet?
Not yet, no. Should I go?
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant, Judith. I can't tell you how good the chap is in it who's playing the main character.
Oh, I love him. Matt Damon.
Yeah. Well, I didn't love him until this film, but I certainly do now. He was absolutely genius. There's one point where they have to get him off Mars, and he has to jettison absolutely everything that is, wait for it, non-essential. So he takes essentialism to the extreme in this attempt to get off Mars, and it's just absolutely amazing the things that he jettisons and can let go of, and still have the desired outcome.
Yeah, well, because all of that stuff makes us feel safe in some way or another. There's profit in hanging on to this stuff that we won't release, or we think there is. It's what they call the anti-goal, isn't it?
Well, I thought you were about to say that NLP thing that makes me squirm. What how are you benefiting from this?
Yeah.
I hate that. It makes me squirm. But there you go.
Yeah.
You didn't go there.
No, I sort of did, but I did it in nicer language. Yeah. So let it go is the theme of the week. If you're letting go of something and you're, write in and let us know and tell us how life's different after you've done it.
I think that's why it's such coming back to why pop songs resonate with people and become successful. That Let It Go tune, even if you haven't seen the movie, you probably know it, because when you first heard it, it probably reminded you of something you needed to let go.
Yeah. Didn't it win the Oscar as well, I think?
I don't know. I think we definitely need to get a little video of it on the show notes,
yes,
don't we?
I think we do, yes, because it's actually quite good fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And we'll put it in the group as well. So come to the website, ownitthepodcast.com, and watch it there, and that's episode 49.
It is.
Or come and join our private Facebook group, which you can do at ownitthepodcast.com/FB. And we'll have a whole discussion around letting things go in the group. What's your word of the week then?
Should you tell me yours first?
No. You need to tell me.
Mine is scarcity.
Oh, that's always a good one. Go on then.
I think there's a lot of it around at the moment. I'm feeling a little bit of it. All my clients are feeling a bit of it. It's in the zeitgeist, and it's always there if you want to fall into that trap. It's always lying underneath, ready to catch you out. That's all I'm going to say about it for today. It's just what everybody's talking to me about right now.
Well, I've had 6 weeks of what could have been interpreted as scarcity, in that when I started Clicks and Leads, I was getting inquiries every week. I was signing up, just before I went on holiday, I was signing up 2 clients a week. And then I lost 4 clients in 1 week at the beginning of September, and not one has signed up since then. So it gave me a very big opportunity to think about scarcity, because I did have to fight off those feelings quite strongly. And I was talking to Steve about it, actually. I was saying it could be my final test. So I have to pass, don't I? It could be my final test before I break through to my $1 million business.
Well, I call it the fertile void, because you can only ever come out of a void in a better place. It's just a phase. All you have to do is abide and come through it. I agree.
And what I had to do was to ask myself what I need to do to make it change. And instead of just sitting there wallowing, I did the things that I felt I needed to. In fact, I did the things. Here's what it is. I did the things that I would have done if I wasn't in that place of a client, void. And they started coming. I mean, I've got 12 potential new clients either signing up right now or about to sign up, and they all came in one hit, and they wouldn't have done that if I hadn't done the things that I would have done if I hadn't been experiencing the client.
And do you know what? You use the wallowing word, and actually wallowing harks back to the client challenge of the week. That hanging on to stuff is wallowing.
And it was this time last year that I went to America and worked with Rich, literally about, I'd just come back by now, and that knocked wallowing out of me. That taught me that we are all 100% responsible for what happens to us, and it's unforgivable to wallow. It's unforgivable. You just got to carry on. You've got to keep doing the things you would do if you were successful, because that is what makes you successful. You have to be successful before you're successful.
Oh, I agree. I teach my clients that all the time. Go and do and be the thing, and then everything else will catch up with you.
Yeah.
Now, that was scarcity. What's yours?
Essentialism.
Oh, did you not do that one?
I might have done, but okay. I think we need to talk about it a bit more. Let me read you the Wikipedia. The other thing I wanted to say, Wikipedia are on a bit of a fundraiser. If every user of Wikipedia paid £2 right now, they would never have to fundraise again to keep it free.
Very nice. I do. They do that every so often, don't they? When you go on there, they invite you to pay money. It's easy to pay Wikipedia £2, don't you think?
Yeah, I've just given them 10 because I thought that was that'll keep me going. And so I was looking at Wikipedia. If I was just looking for essentialism, just to make sure I could find the strapline, which is the disciplined pursuit of less. I am now totally on the road of disciplined pursuit of less. But anyway, the Wikipedia definition is the view that for any specific entity, such as an animal, a group of people, a physical object, or a concept, there is a set of attributes which is necessary to its identity and function. In Western thought, the concept is found in the word of Plato and Aristotle. And actually, Eli Goldratt, who I have mentioned before, wrote about the theory of constraints in The Goal, which is the sort of more up-to-date thing about it. So you don't need to go and read Plato and Aristotle. But this thing about there is a set of attributes which are necessary to its identity and function. So if you want to build a successful business, there are a set of attributes in that business that's different to another business which are necessary to its identity and function. And if you can figure out what those attributes are, the necessary conditions, as they're called in theory of constraints, you don't need to do any more. And I'm always someone who's always got a great big to-do list, always thinking of more things to do, and would have got very stressed about this lack of internet if I hadn't been on this disciplined pursuit of less. I'm now looking on this lack of internet as an opportunity to practice a disciplined pursuit of less.
Yes, some of us would say you'd manifested it.
Those who think of in such
yes, be careful what you ask for.
Well, I do think it's a bit weird that I put on Facebook, we've got the builders in, I'm suspecting the worst, and actually I didn't, when I wrote that, have any concept that it might be as actually have happened. Yes. I thought I was making a joke.
Yeah we don't really know what the worst is in this day and age.
No we don't.
And aren't we lucky?
Yes, absolutely. Project updates then.
You go first.
Well, I sort of alluded to it a moment ago. 12 new clients, all of whom are the kind of clients that I've worked out that I want now. Ones who've got one in particular is looking to grow her business from something like 250,000 to 500,000 in the next 6 months, and is willing to spend to do that. And she came, she'd already worked out how many views of her page she needed, how many opt-ins she needed, how many, conversions to her webinar she needed. She came with the numbers, and I said to her, "Oh my God, I do love a client who knows her numbers." and she'd only missed out one bit, which I was able to gently ask her about, and she, so that was nice. I put myself in a position of, knowing what I was talking about. But two of them are amazing JV white label opportunities where they want me to do it for their clients under the guise of being them. So absolutely perfect. And what it's done is I've been seeking, as you know, Judith, an outbound marketing strategy as opposed to just being inbound, which I am normally, which is where you do some ads and people come to you and opt in and you follow them up by email. I needed an outbound strategy. I didn't feel comfortable not having one. And now I've not only got an outbound strategy, but I don't have to do it myself.
Yeah, special skill, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's good. I had a good week on the betting last week. I've thoroughly enjoyed my betting. Yeah, I think I'm just going to carry that on for fun. I'm not going to worry about trying to make a proper income out of it. I think I'm just going to do it as a hobby that brings me a few £100 every month.
I think a hobby that pays you £500 a month is a marvellous hobby, quite frankly.
You can't get any, unless you were selling your drawings. I don't see how we could beat it.
Yeah.
Which your drawings, I've got to say, are getting better and better. They're lovely.
Yes. Well,
they really are.
I've done 40 of them now since the 21st of August. No, my back's slightly against the wall because I've decided I want to finish this book, but the 40 ones that I've done out of the 90 in the book are the only ones I like. So now I'm having to colour in things.
No. You've got to let go of those uncoloured pages.
Well, sort of, but
come on.
There's an opportunity in there to be surprised, I think. It's only colouring in. Does it really matter what you're colouring in?
Yes, because if you don't like when you look at the page, it either says yes or no to you straight away, doesn't it?
Well, it sort of does, but the most of them are something I wouldn't have chosen because they're all, there's some camp ones with sort of mushrooms and birds and things.
Oh, I like the bird ones. I've got to say, I was looking at yours. Well, I've been stalking your drawings because I've been looking. Keep talking about it, and I was thinking of using one of your drawings as a surprise for the 50th episode, but they're not quite big enough to get a good rendering. But I think you need to let go of your need for completion, Judith. Your girly SWAT need for completion.
Well, I tell you, it comes from an essentialism perspective as well, actually, Nicola, which is as I don't want clutter. And if I was an artist, I'm not an artist, I'm just colouring something in as a meditative practice. So actually, it seems to me that it doesn't really matter what you colour in, leaves or owls or the book presents opportunities. I haven't quite exhausted it yet, I don't think.
I think that there is something going on here in that you don't think you're an artist, and because you're not drawing the thing and then colouring it in. Whereas when I look at your drawings, your colouring ins, sorry, not your drawings, I look at your colouring ins and I see the colour sense of an artist. And I don't think the fact that you're not drawing them is relevant.
No, I hear what you say, which is very nice of you. Thank you, and I appreciate.
I'm not a nice person, Judith. I don't say.
No, I know you're not. No, I know you're not. But I appreciate it, especially coming from you, because you are. If you go back to your needlework and your St. Martins and all of that, you are more of an artist than I see myself to be. But over the decades, that thing that British people, I don't know whether it's Brits or whether it's just the art uninitiated, people say, I don't know about art, but I know what I like. That.
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
I often say to people over the years, I'm not arty, I don't have an eye, blah, blah, blah. And they always point out and say, but look how you decorate your house, or look how you make your garden look nice, or whatever it is. We've all got everything in some degree or another, haven't we?
Yes, and the people who chef have got, Jamie Oliver certainly makes all his food look absolutely amazing. Yeah, everyone's got one thing in them, I think.
I'm finding it gripping still, the colouring, but I think it's the meditative thing. It's the fact that you can only really, it gets you to focus on one thing. It's the antidote to multitasking, which was one of my goals for 2015, funnily enough.
It's an excellent tool for the disciplined pursuit of less.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, that's it. Good. Let me tell you about my project.
Go on then.
So last week I told you I was experimenting with this new gifting pay it forward thing.
Oh, yes.
And what happens is you pay out $25 US and it comes back to you 8 times.
Theoretically.
So far it's come back to me 5.
Oh, okay.
Not bad.
So do you think the fact that it's easier to do online means that it works better than it would if you had to put it in an envelope and post it off?
Well, we couldn't put anything in an envelope. I had to go to the post office yesterday to post a birthday card. I mean, it's a pain, isn't it, having to post things? I'm sure many people listening will go, no, I love it. I still write letters and blah, blah. No, I don't, Nicola. I think it's whether you do it in envelopes or whether you do it online, it's about trust, isn't it? And I think the concept of paying it forward and abundance amongst the enlightened. So Yvonne, from Champagne, she loves it because, of course, that's her ethos. So I think if you bring the right people into it who are, so in the sense that you gave a tenner to Wikipedia this morning, it's no different my sending $25 to somebody I've never met in Singapore. And if you do it in the right spirit and you only bring in people of an abundant mindset, it's bound to work. If you bring in scarce people who keep going, where's mine? It's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. But 5/8 after a week is good, and I hope by next week I'll be able to report 8/8.
Well, how long is it before we can all jump on board? Because I'm practicing with Kiva. I gave some to Wikipedia. I gave some to WaterAid for Tom Beale's birthday. What else do I do? I've joined the postcard lottery.
I don't want to tell anybody until it's working. And for me, what I've written down here is I've written it's working slowly. Let's see it work first. It's stalled. It has stalled because there was a big influx of interest at the beginning, and then the two prime moves have both been poorly. So it's all gone a bit, and everybody's waiting for it to work before they bring people in, which of course in itself is a limiting factor.
It's a limiting thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm up for it. So give me a shout.
I promise I'll let you know. Yeah.
$25. What's not to like?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's our project updates.
Yes,
anything new happening on your coaching business front, or is that just trolling along nicely?
Well, I don't really think of that as a project. For me, my projects are the bits on the side. My ordinary thing is just ordinary and tumbling along as it normally does.
Well, as I'm pursuing less in a disciplined fashion, I shall have to just make up mini projects into projects, intra, as opposed to extra. What's impressed you this week then?
It's a novel, actually, a novel that I've been reading. When I went to teach my friends to do blogging on that Monday night, they gave me a novel in in paperback form, in hard form, which, as I said to you last week, I'm finding a bit cumbersome. But my friend Jane has a friend who lives in Canada who sends her novels by Canadian novelists to prove that, I don't know what, that Canadians can write or something. Don't overlook Canadian novelists. And Jane read it and David read it and they gave it to me and they said, you'll love it. It makes you laugh and it makes you cry. It's called All My Puny Sorrows. It's by a Canadian novelist called Miriam, I don't know how you pronounce this word, Toews. And she writes about two Mennonite sisters. Do you know what the Mennonites are?
Vaguely.
Yeah,
a bit like pilgrims or
a bit like the Irishes, I don't know, yeah. One is a classical pianist who wants to die, and the other is her sister who wants to keep her alive. And it's the sort of bittersweet story of, it seems in this novel that a disproportionate number of Mennonite people want to kill themselves. I don't know whether that's true or not, but so it's about love and loss.
I was watching Countryfile the other night. This may not seem connected at first glance.
I watched a bit of it myself. Strange choice for an urban person such as myself. Yes,
love Countryfile. I think it's a sign I'm getting older. I love Countryfile. I love Gardener's World. It's a bit worrying, really. But anyway, it was Mental Health Week last week. In fact, it was National Mental Health Day on Saturday, I think, or Friday or Saturday, and they were talking on Countryfile about how many farmers kill themselves under massive stress.
Yes, I did see it. Yeah,
and there were the Young Farmers Association. What they called that lot?
The Young Farmers.
Yeah, right. They were talking about how difficult it is to talk to each other and everything, but they're determined to support farmers and make it easier for people to talk about their problems, because farmers are by nature a taciturn lot.
Yes.
Did I pronounce that correctly? Taciturn, that's it. I thought I might have got it wrong, but it was one of the things that struck me in all the discussions about that was how mental health problems are so buried under the carpet, and how many people there are in the world who are going about in what's that expression, a state of quiet desperation. Who was that said that?
I don't know, but I'll look it up for the show notes. It's a good one.
Yeah, and how we're also becoming increasingly lonely and increasingly disconnected from people, and how important it is to lay eyes on real people occasionally.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right. Tell me what's impressed you.
Well, it's a book by Russell Brunson, who is, you know these books that people send out as a marketing exercise, really,
Yes,
and
yes.
you just pay postage and packing, and you get a hard copy free. Well, yeah. I'm pretty sure I sent off for .com Secrets by Russell Brunson, and I don't think I ever got it, and I don't know why, but anyway, whatever. My lovely cement specialist Nick Winter had 2 copies. He doesn't know how he got 2. He probably got mine by accident, but anyway, he sent it on to me, and I absolutely loved it. It's a brilliant book to read if you don't want to get too deep into the nitty-bitty tactics. If you want a book about how to put an online strategy together, I can't recommend this highly enough. It goes through 3 or 4 online strategies which could be turned to any topic or business, and it gets progressively more complex, but it's got lovely little drawings that just make it all really clear. And yes, it does mention his software, which is called ClickFunnels, which does enable you to put strategies and funnels together quite easily on a sort of software as a service basis. So you subscribe to his ClickFunnels and you can do it all, but then you're locked in. But it's a brilliant book. I mean, I read all the internet books that come out, and it is actually the best one I've read so far. So .com Secrets, Russell Brunson, highly recommended.
Very good.
Yes. And that's us done, madam. Episode 49.
It is us done, madam. Yes, it is.
So is next week episode 50? That's our anniversary week then, isn't it?
It is. So next week there are 2 episodes. The normal one, which will be called 51, and the bonus one, which will be called 50.
Well, hang on. When you say next week, isn't next week the 50th?
Well, next week we are recording episode 50, but we can't have 2 episodes. We can't have 2 episodes 50, can we?
Yeah.
So presumably you don't want to put out that 14-minute video as the podcast in its own right.
No.
So next week we're putting out the bonus one and recording episode 51. Can't have 2 episodes 50.
Oh, good job! I'm so good at maths as a wealth coach, isn't it? Good job. I've got you to tell me what to do. More to the point.
Yeah. There will be 2 episodes next week. One will be a bonus one called 50.
Okay, got you.
The normal one called 51.
Yeah. No, see, that's where you're confusing me, right? Because we're recording
I've
episode 51.
I've only worked that out, Nicola. I've only worked that out because I've got to do the show notes, and I can't have 2 of them called episode 50.
We'll have to talk about this afterwards because I've got to worry. But we won't burden our listeners with it.
No, fair enough.
Talk to you later then.
Okay.
Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.